we're gonna have a talk about the fight, Usyk Chisora. We have to talk about it. We have to mention Usyk's name first. He's the bill. You know, he's the guy that everyone's expecting to win.
Do you think that Derek actually does have a chance? Are you changing your mind now?
Listen, you'd have to be stupid to think that somebody who punches like Derek Chisora, we've seen him time and time again. I mean, the Carlos Takam knockout, just for one example.
That was a hell of a fight. That was a hell of a fight.
And he was under pressure as well for many moments in that fight.
He was taking some serious stick in that
taking
fight.
More punishment than what I took in a few of my fights, sitting on the ropes in the corner, taking heavy shots. I never used to. People said that I took a lot of shots, but I didn't sit there like Chisora. He was riding them. He was soaking them up.
You look like Pernell Whitaker compared to what he looked at.
No, I won't go that far. But yeah, I know what you're saying. But yeah, and he turned it around and he got the knockout, and we've seen it. We've seen it with him.
One overhand right, and that was when he was completely exhausted from getting battered. How about when he's in tip-top condition? How about when he's conditioned his body, conditioned his mind to focus on throwing specific sequences of punches that Usyk doesn't like?
Right, listen. So you're telling me that the training's gone superb, which obviously you're not going to say it's not, but you could be honest and say that
the last three training camps I've done with Chisora was the Dylan White 2 rematch. I was very unhappy with it, but because the first fight went as well as it did do, I actually had Derek possibly. It was a very close fight. I had Derek taking it by a round. Then he had, but he lost that fight. So off the strength of him losing that fight and such a close fight, I thought, going by what his existing training team was telling me about his fitness going into the second fight, that's what gave me the confidence that he would win. And he was winning up until the point he got knocked out in the 11th round. So I was unhappy with a lot of the way he did his training, his mindset, the fact he took way too many days off, the fact that he wasn't really pushing himself to the limit in every training session. He was cutting his sparring short. He wasn't really sparring the right people, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Since that point, he's taken on board a lot more of what I've requested, taken on board the training philosophies of, pushing his heart rate a lot higher than he has done in the past, not being a plodding heavyweight, training like you're a middleweight, throwing clusters of punches, not one or two big shots. We're talking clusters of no less than 4.
He's known for being quite fit. He's fit for 12 rounds anyway. We've seen that time and time again.
No. Here's the thing that maybe the experts aren't aware of. Derek, you're right. You've seen him time and time again do 12-rounders. Does that mean you're 12-round fit to fight for 3 minutes of those 12 rounds? Just because someone does, you could
no, of course not. Of course not.
A 12-round fight today if you pace yourself correctly. You've got enough boxing know-how to get through 12 rounds and lose on points against probably anyone in the world right now.
Yeah.
But for you to be the type of fitness that you need to win these toe-to-toe exchanges, you know what it takes, how hard you've got to push yourself. And there have been times in the past where you haven't quite. You've been fit for the first fight with George Groves. You was fit for 12 rounds. No, you wasn't. You wasn't. You could do 12 rounds, but you didn't have that end.
I've seen Chisora. I've seen him go 12 rounds. I've seen him finish strong in fights.
How about him now being?
The first fight with Dillian White was close, and that was a tough 12-rounder.
And if you thought he had 12 rounds of action in then, how about when he's done 3 times as much sparring, got hit a 10th of the amount in his head through training camp? He's done 3 times as many conditioning sessions, and he's really, really pushing his lungs in every session where he didn't do before. You saw Derek Chisora fighting on an empty tank, and that's still impressive. How about when he's fully loaded?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he could do now. Is you're saying he's like super fit, fitter than he's ever been, the best he's ever been. And I'm not going to discredit that in any way, because you know your stuff, you know what you're seeing, and you've got inside. Right, tell me about Alexis Dimitriadis, if that's pronounced correctly.
Yeah,
you used him. Let me just stop you. Did you have him in your training? Just for the people that didn't know, he trained you for your fight against Chisora.
Yes, he was.
And you was working on some different. You was working on some different bits. Tell me about that.
When I was training to fight Derek Chisora in 2012, I was fully aware that Derek is stronger than me. Fact. He can deadlift more than me. He can squat more than me. He can bench press more than me. He's just a bigger, stronger animal than me. So I didn't want that to be the case. I remember watching the way Evander Holyfield dealt with Mike Tyson. And what he did was, anytime they got into a clinch, for whatever reason, Holyfield was able to walk Tyson back, put him on his heels and walk him back to the ropes. Psychologically, that got into Mike Tyson's head and allowed him to believe Holyfield was stronger than him. And he was the guy coming up from cruiserweight. So theoretically, Tyson was probably expecting Holyfield to try and box around him, but he didn't. He took it to him. So I thought, how can I do that? Alexis and all of the guys, Marius, his brother, and all the guys down at London Shoot Fighters, they come from a wrestling background, an MMA background. So there's a lot of clinch work, a lot of pummeling involved. So I got these guys involved to assist me in learning how the foot positioning, how to, get your underhooks in and use it to your advantage, punching whilst in the clinch. There's so many different elements that I was unaware of that they made me aware of. And it allowed me to seriously take control of the fight with Derek Chisora, who was stronger than me. And if you rewatch that fight, anytime he came into a clinch, I pushed him back. Psychologically, it made Derek believe that I was stronger than I actually was, which then allowed me to have that gap and have that room to land my longer range punches. So
yeah, I get that.
I brought him in for that. It was very good, useful. He's also assisted me over the years with my sparring. I used to send him videos of my sparring if he wasn't there. And I remember you always coming back with good feedback about footwork, about tactical side of things. These guys they're fighting guys. They're not come from a boxing background. They come from a fighting combat background. They train.
So physically, okay. So physically, they're going to get Derek Chisora a bit more physically in terms of grappling and up close. But Chisora's already bigger and stronger and heavier than Usyk. So in that department, he's already got them advantages.
No, he was, but he never used to use it. He was unaware. He never used to use his strength in fights. He didn't know how to. What he used to do is allow people to walk him back. And if you watch when he gets into clinches with people, he was getting pushed back. I was able to push him back.
He was pushed him back in your fight, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know how. He was unaware of how to use that strength. He was strong, but he didn't know how to use it. These guys have allowed him to develop a boxing technique and style to maximize his punching output, to make sure when he punches, his head's coming off the line, that he's not up in the air, getting ready to get caught with the counter-attacks. He has been getting counter-attacks in the past. So these guys, because they don't have a boxing background, you can't really check out their boxing credentials. But I've used their boxing credentials, and this will be the first time Alexis has been in a corner of a boxing match. But he understands boxing, he understands fighters, he understands rhythm and pace and how to structure.
Right. Okay. So I've got all that. I understand it. Alexis, he knows his stuff. He's adding to Chisora's game. He's going to add to it sounds to me like it's going to be a bit of weight distribution, a little bit of grappling up close. He's going to be able to maneuver Usyk around the ring and make him tired rather than use too much of his own energy, sort of position him around the ring himself. So that's going to be an advantage. But Alexander Usyk, he's won everything as an amateur. 100%. He's undisputed king as a cruiserweight. He's now this is his second fight. I mean, Chaz Witherspoon, that win. Does that count as a big win as heavyweight? In many people's eyes, probably not. No, but he's gone up. He's come up to heavyweight. He's dipped his toe in the water with Witherspoon. He's won that fight. And now he's in against somebody who we know is a fully fledged heavyweight who can go in with the best of them. I think it's probably 85% of people that I speak to just in that Usyk's going to outbox him and maybe stop him late. And I can kind of see myself.
I understand that.
I could see myself a late stoppage for Usyk. I'm not saying it's going to be a late stoppage, but I can see that. I can see Usyk just... Yeah. I watched Alexander Usyk yesterday against Joe Joyce on the WSB, which is, for people who don't know, it's kind of a bridge between amateur boxing and professional boxing. It's 5 3-minute rounds, no head guards, no vests. And I've never seen anybody deal with Joe Joyce in that manner, the way Usyk did. Usyk was he wasn't playing with him, that would be disrespectful to Joyce, but Joyce landed very little. He looked to be shook up a couple of times. I never see Joe Joyce, the juggernaut. He just marches forward with his cumbersome looking shots, but he's really, really effective and he gets to everyone. I've seen him sparring Anthony Joshua on numerous occasions up at the England squad at the IS in Sheffield. And, I watched that yesterday and I just thought to myself,
Bit special, this kid.
Yeah, he's not a small cruiserweight, and now he's in the heavyweight division.
That was a long time ago as well.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Of course, it was.
So he's improved immensely since that point.
Yeah. So anyway, we've discussed what you think. I'm not saying what I think. I know for a fact that Derek Chisora, if he catches anybody on the chin, including Alexander Usyk, he can knock him out.
How about on the top of the head?
How do you mean? If he catches Usyk on the top of the head?
He caught Carlos Takam on the top of the head.
Yeah, well, he hit him and he got up at the count, and then the finish was I think Takam really. I mean, there was an argument that fight could have been stopped, but it had to go on. Yeah. And then he swallowed a right hand. Was that the top of the head? That second right hand?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of top of the head shots. Derek Chisora doesn't have that pinpoint accuracy. He wings shots wide, but those swipes are hard. The body shots are heavy. We've been getting 5 or 6 sparring partners per sparring session, 2 in. Just completely, each person does 2 rounds, and they're getting a 1,000-pound bonus if they can knock him down. So these are live rounds. These guys are really coming at him, and he's got to have to win the rounds. Unlike the old days where he just does 8 rounds of sparring, gets bashed up against the ropes. None of that. He's actually got to move his head, punch and move, and he's doing things consistently for the last 6 months now. For me, that will really make a difference in this fight. I really see Usyk being put in his uncomfort zone. Derek will be hit with shots he doesn't know exist. Usyk is that guy, the southpaw. He can step round you. You can bring the shots up, bring them round. But Derek Chisora doesn't have a traditional style. He does his cross-arm defense, which isn't something you see in the amateurs. So Usyk hasn't had to deal with anybody of that type of style yet. All of the people Usyk have fought have been international amateurs themselves, world champions, amateurs, Brados, the Gassayevs, all the Olympic-style fighters moved into the professional game at the same time. And there's not much in it between them. But Derek Chisora just has a very, very different style that's very difficult to read. And all of the sparring partners came into camp believing Derek Chisora was going to get battered. They said, every single one of them said, when we heard the fight, we're coming in to help, but we thought, Derek probably can't deal with me. Every single one of them, at the end of the spar, pulled him to the side and said, what do you think? They all said, I didn't know Derek could close the range like that. I didn't know he could. I didn't know he's never done it in any fights. If he can replicate what he's been doing in sparring in this fight, and there's no reason he shouldn't, we've got ourselves a very, very interesting fight where Usyk may have to go soul searching. Usyk may not be able to just keep it on the outside and outbox. He may force Usyk to have to go toe-to-toe to start winning the rounds. We saw Papachenko's son, Lomachenko, have to really dig in them late rounds, and it was against a guy who was naturally bigger than himself, Lopez. And we saw the pound-for-pound kingpin not able to deal with the size factor. This, I believe, is a similar type of deal. Obviously, Derek isn't young, but the size factor, he's going to be 20 kilograms bigger than him. That's a lot of weight in boxing. They have weight categories for a reason. 20 kilos of a prime Derek Chisora willing to hit elbows, hips, back of head, neck, hit you in the throat. Anytime Usyk wants to clinch, he's going to be in trouble. So I'm telling you,
without a doubt, this is the first time that Usyk is going to be in the ring with a proper heavyweight who's got experience. He's got abundance of experience at top level as well. And I think it'd be stupid to think that Chisora is not going to put Usyk in some kind of pressure or some kind of sticky points or put him in some position where he's not being in amateur or professional. He's going to have his back against the ropes. He's going to be pushed around and manhandled at times. And that's the interesting bit for me. How does Usyk cope under pressure when he's being leaned on and punched around the side of the head and around the back of the ribs and, sort of manhandled and mauled around the ring? Because he's got so much weight and size advantage. Chisora, well, not so much height, but the weight, the bulkiness of the weight, so that physical strength. Yeah, so, Usyk's going to be definitely in a position he's probably never been in his career. And that's what excites me with this fight. Seeing how Usyk responds to that and seeing how he deals with the pressure of a proper heavyweight fighter like Chisora, who isn't coming here he's not coming here to lose or roll over. He's coming here with ambition, and he's coming here with, with his head, one eye on the future and potentially what's ahead for him, because this gives him a ranking, this gives him a mandatory position for Anthony Joshua. Is it the WBO is to be manager for?
WBO, yeah, exactly.
So if he knows he's got that as a dangling carrot for him as well, there's no reason for Derek Chisora to leave anything in the changing rooms or to leave anything in the gym. He just leave every single ounce of what he's got in the ring, and that's what excites me about this fight. Regardless of how you think the result's going to go, this cannot be a one-sided performance or a one-sided whooping from Alexander Usyk. It just wouldn't seem right. It wouldn't be fair to suggest that. But Usyk is that good. You can see why people are dismissing Chisora, but they need to think about the size, the weight, the attitude, the change in training with Chisora, and just take all that into account when they're placing their bets or they're opening their mouth with their opinions. Like I said, I share the opinion of many people who think that Usyk's probably got too much skill and too much natural ability and too much class. But this isn't amateur boxing. This is professional boxing, and it can get very dirty and very hurtful in there at times of amateur boxing. The referees let things go. They let low blows go. They let kidney punches go. They let back of the head slaps go and leaning and elbows in the face. All these things can play a massive factor in this weight division. So I'm excited. I'm not writing off Alexander Usyk by no stretch of the imagination. Not Usyk, not Chisora. I'm not writing off Chisora. He's definitely in for a chance. I've got to say Usyk's my favourite for the win. It has to be, as far as I'm concerned.
I know you're going to be on the edge of your seat from the very first bell. It's an intriguing fight, very, very intriguing fight where the experts have it one way. You're an expert. I'm an expert. I'm sure if I weren't working with Derek Chisora, I'd see it exactly as you see it.
Hey fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else